Destruction flame physique? Hearing what Xiao Yin had said, Taiping chuckled and remarked, "That name is certainly simple and crude." "Well, that's just the kind of person I am," Xiao Yin smiled in response. "In that case, allow me to see if your destruction flame physique lives up to its destructive name," Taiping said indifferently. Immediately, his right hand slowly lifted, and as it rose, countless ancient black and white intertwined runes emerged on his arm. "One strike to decide the outcome?" Taiping's voice echoed through the air. Buzz. As the black and white ancient runes appeared on Taiping's arm, the Pango true form behind him also raised its colossal axe in unison. The synchronized motion conveyed a terrifying feeling as if it were about to cleave heaven and earth in two. Opposite him, Xiao Yan's expression grew solemn. He knew the Pango true form was renowned for its nearly unrivaled defensive strength, but he wasn't certain just how powerful its attack would be. According to ancient legends, the complete Pangu form possessed the overwhelming power to split an entire supercontinent in two. It was said that a lower dimensional world, along with its heavenly emperor-grade evil clan experts, was obliterated by the Pangu form in a single strike. Now, the Pango true form, as part of the Pangu form, inherited its indestructible strength. If it also inherited its destructive power, it would be unimaginably terrifying. "One strike to decide it all? That's just what I wanted," Xiao Yin murmured softly, gripping the eternal ruler tightly. He dared not take this strike from the Pango true form lightly. "You're not going to dodge?" Seeing Xiao Yan's eager stance, Taiping narrowed his eyes slightly. It seemed Xiao Yan's earlier full-strength strike had left an impression, as Taiping's demeanor revealed a hint of unease. Xiao Yan clearly intended to face the Pango true form's attack head-on, though it was obvious Xiao Yan wouldn't just stand still. Rumble. As the Pango true form slowly raised its colossal axe, the surrounding space trembled violently. The sheer act of raising the axe revealed its extraordinary weight and composition. In truth, this giant axe had reached the heavenly artifact grade. Below, Elder Long Yuan looked at Xiao Yin with deep concern. He understood that the force contained within this strike was beyond what an ordinary heavenly supreme expert could evade. The only choices were to dodge or endure it. Whether Xiao Yin could withstand it, Elder Long Yuan had no certainty. Boom. At the same time, Xiao Yin shook the eternal ruler in his hand, and the surrounding world seemed to transform into a fiery inferno. Within 1,000,000 miles, the space violently distorted before it began to melt. From the melting void surged overwhelming imperial flames. At this moment, all of heaven and earth, including space itself, were transformed into imperial flame energy by Xiao Yin. This was one of the most terrifying aspects of the destruction flame physique. Rumble. The endless imperial flame formed a colossal tidal wave of fire stretching tens of thousands of miles behind Xiao Yin. The sheer visual impact was astonishing. Then, that enormous tide of imperial flame surged toward the eternal ruler in his hand. The terrifying force, several times more fearsome than his earlier Emperor Lotus, concentrated onto the radiant flame ruler, which was now about 10 feet in size. Meanwhile, Taiping remained calm as he watched Xiao Yan's preparation. This wasn't because he underestimated Xiao Yin, but because, after centuries of training under the primordial sacred flame, he had grown indifferent to changes in the world. After all, everything was part of the primordial itself. Emperor of 10,000 flames, this strike is my tribute to you. Taiping's low voice echoed. In the next instant, his raised right hand slashed downward toward Xiao Yin. Simultaneously, the Pango true form mirrored his motion, bringing down the heaven-opening axe across the tens of thousands of miles toward Xiao Yin. This strike by Taiping and the Pango true form had no elaborate flourishes or ostentatious displays. Yet, as the colossal axe descended, the entire primordial sacred domain turned deathly gray. All light faded, and even time seemed to freeze. The focal point of heaven and earth had shifted to something else, a black line stretching tens of thousands of miles, dividing the world into two halves. Within this split world stood Xiao Yin, cloaked in his destruction flame physique. Boom. In the gray, motionless world, a miraculous scene finally unfolded. Xiao Yin, locked onto by the black line, became the only moving figure. In that silent expanse, a voice echoed with an unmatched majesty that seemed to repel the oppressive gray. Eternal Destruction Ruler. Boom. As Xiao Yan's voice resounded through the heavens, the gray surrounding the black line was pushed back, as if an indescribable force had shattered the oppressive silence. At the same time, Xiao Yan swung the Eternal Ruler with tremendous force toward the Pango true form and the black line dividing the heavens. Rumble. As the Eternal Ruler descended, the terrifying flames that had been condensed onto it erupted, forming a fiery line tens of thousands of miles long. The fiery line clashed with the black line, creating a massive cross in the sky. This gigantic cross, composed of black and radiant flames, divided the heavens into two halves, one gray and the other crimson-red. A few moments later, the space within the cross collapsed entirely, mirroring its form perfectly. Crash. As shards of space rained down like a storm, the gray and crimson hues of the world gradually faded. In the sky remained a massive cross-shaped void where space had been annihilated. Even Elder Long Yuan below struggled to believe what he saw. He had assumed that, despite Xiao Yan's advancement to the heavenly supreme realm, he would still be weaker than himself. Yet now it was clear that Xiao Yan's combat strength had surpassed his expectations. Even the primordial sacred flame in the distance was astonished. Xiao Yan's unleashed power had indeed exceeded his predictions. However, Tai Peng had not disappointed him either. Amid the rain of space shards, Xiao Yan and Tai Peng stood their ground, facing each other. Tai Peng took the first step, taking a deep breath before waving his hand toward the Pango true form. Buzz. As Tai Peng moved his hand, the Pango true form began to fade. Seeing this, Xiao Yan also gradually withdrew from his destruction flame physique, revealing his true form. You truly deserve the title of Emperor of 10,000 Flames, Tai Peng said calmly, his voice acknowledging the intensity of their duel. He could feel that Xiao Yan's energy had been halved by the clash, but unleashing the Pango True Form's attack had consumed him equally. Tai Peng's Pango True Form is the strongest Dharmakaya I've ever faced, Xiao Yan replied, his tone filled with genuine respect. The exchange had revealed the overwhelming power of the Pango True Form, which was only a fragment of the complete Pangu form. Xiao Yan couldn't imagine how terrifying the full Pangu form would be. In truth, neither fighter had gained the upper hand. Their clash ended in a stalemate. At that moment, the primordial sacred flame appeared between them. Smiling faintly, he said, "Neither of you disappointed me. Both of you exceeded my expectations. As promised, I will honor my word. Prepare yourselves. We're heading to retrieve the heaven-opening axe," he instructed. "Yes, master," Tai Peng replied before disappearing instantly. Xiao Yan and Elder Long Yuan exchanged astonished glances. Finally, Xiao Yan stepped forward, bowing to the primordial sacred flame. "Thank you, Senior Sacred Flame. If there's a chance in the future, I will repay your kindness." "Enough. I merely admire you," the primordial sacred flame said. "Besides, your willingness to use the dimension embryo to aid me deserves gratitude." Moments later, Tai Peng reappeared, carrying a stone axe on his shoulder. The axe, half a meter in size, was ancient and covered in moss and rust. Yet those at the heavenly supreme level, like Xiao Yan, could sense the axe's connection to the heavens and earth. This was no ordinary artifact, but a genuine heavenly artifact. Deep inside this space, there was a massive plaza several tens of thousands of feet in size, made of crystal-like transparent material. This material was known as spirit-attracting stone, used to amplify the power of spiritual arrays. While small spirit-attracting stones were not very valuable, when used in large quantities, their value skyrocketed. This massive plaza of spirit-attracting stones was worth at least hundreds of millions of supreme spiritual liquid, a sum so great that even high-tier clans like the Fire Spirit Clan or Ice Spirit Clan would be stunned. Buzz. A massive array, several tens of thousands of feet in size, slowly activated above the plaza, sending terrifying waves of energy that even heavenly supremes would fear. However, at this moment, two graceful figures appeared at the center of the array. One woman wore a red outer garment with a white skirt that fluttered in the wind. Her appearance was delicate, and her name, Jing, matched her serene demeanor. Yet, her face was pale, and blood dripped from her hand, indicating she had been wounded. In front of her stood another woman, dressed in a pale yellow gown. She, too, was stunning, but her expression was filled with concern as she looked at the red-clad woman. Xun'er, when this array activates, it will send you several million miles away. At that time, you must find a way to return quickly to the ruins continent. There, you will be protected, the red-clad woman said, her voice full of determination. The woman in the yellow gown was none other than Xun'er, the lost companion of Xiao when he entered the Great Thousand Worlds. Xun'er, didn't we agree to wait for brother Xiao and the others to come? We've already sent messages to the ruins continent for help, Xun'er replied, surprised. According to their original plan, they had been waiting for reinforcements. Brother Xiao should be here soon. No, the situation has changed. If you don't leave now, we will be in trouble, Xun'er replied, shaking her head. There are already 3 heavenly emperors from the extraterritorial evil clan outside. What? Xun'er's heart skipped a beat as she looked at Xun'er with concern. Xun'er had been injured protecting her from the 3 heavenly emperors. Now, a 5th evil demon at the heavenly emperor level has appeared, and 2 more. One is a mid-level heavenly emperor, and the last one. I can't sense his true power, but he's probably at the level of a little sacred emperor, Xun'er said. I can only send one person away with the remaining strength I have. They're after me, so at least you won't be chased if you leave. No, you've saved me so many times. I can't leave you behind. Xun'er immediately rejected Xun'er's proposal. She knew that the little sacred emperor level was equivalent to a supreme powerhouse in the Great Thousand Worlds, almost on par with the perfected heavenly supreme. Such beings shouldn't be able to casually enter the Great Thousand Worlds. How did your primordial divine clan fail to detect this? In this situation, you should immediately seek help from your clan. As the divine maiden of the Futu clan, they would never let an extraterritorial clan harm you. Xun'er, don't say anything more. Xun'er shouted angrily, her voice filled with resentment. I'll never go back to the Futu divine clan. Xun'er didn't know what Xun'er had experienced there, but it was clear that Xun'er had fled from the Futu clan. The ancient clans had oppressive rules that bound their members, just like some ancient clans from the Dochi continent. These rules preserved the bloodlines and strength of the clans through coercive means. Xun'er, the teleportation array is ready. You must leave, Xun'er said. Her eyes locked on Xun'er, and then an overwhelming pressure of heaven and earth descended upon Xun'er, freezing her in place. With Xun'er immobilized, Xun'er used her remaining strength to activate the array on the spirit-attracting stone. She was determined to send Xun'er away by force. Trembling, Xun'er looked at Xun'er, unable to speak or move. Despite having grown rapidly in strength over the past 8 years, she was still no match for Xun'er, who had already reached the heavenly supreme level. Buzz. The array on the spirit-attracting stone activated, and a light that seemed to pierce through time and space spread from the array. The array slowly began to turn. As Xun'er stood there, tears welled up in her eyes. She had been in the Great Thousand Worlds for years, yet she still felt so helpless. She couldn't even help her sister. The black earth was covered with countless jagged ravines, and in the center of this black land was an enormous chasm that stretched for millions of miles. Hiss! Beneath the vast chasm, endless black waters and golden fire dragons eroded and evaporated each other. The golden fire dragons circled around a black tower, nearly submerged in the water, forming a protective barrier. Buzz. Unlike the day before, a faint and mysterious spiritual array now enveloped the black tower, nearly covering the entire chasm. As a result, the black water surging over the land was now blocked at the edges of the ravine by this massive array. Hiss! The enormous spiritual array obscured the ravine, and with each rotation, the terrifying energy it released evaporated the approaching black water. Yet, despite this, it was still not enough, for clang! A sharp, piercing sound rang out, and then a terrifying black sword beam, moving at the speed of light, slammed into the spiritual array. Boom! The terrifying black sword beam struck the surface of the spiritual array with overwhelming force, leaving countless web-like cracks on it. Typically, spiritual arrays could not be broken by brute force. The best method was to find the weak points and attack them. However, if one's power exceeded the strength of the array's creator, there was no need to search for weaknesses. Boom, boom, boom. After being hit by the massive black sword beam, the spiritual array began to collapse layer by layer, and the black water, previously blocked, surged into the chasm, trying to fill it. However, after the spiritual array was forcefully shattered, it was quickly covered by a mysterious force, and under this power, the array began to repair itself. Troublesome array. A low murmur came from the sky above. The speaker was a man carrying a black sword sheath, his aura radiating with the sinister energy that confirmed his identity as a member of an extraterritorial clan. He was a central heavenly emperor, known as the Sword Monarch in his clan, and his position and strength were equivalent to that of a heavenly supreme in the Great Thousand Worlds. Even the Sword Monarch cannot directly erase this damn array? 3 other figures stood by the Sword Monarch, all at the heavenly emperor level. However, the Sword Monarch was a central heavenly emperor, while they were only lower heavenly emperors. A day ago, these 3 lower heavenly emperors had trapped Xun'er, a member of the Futu divine clan, here after a prolonged battle. Despite Xun'er's resistance, she was forced to rely on the near-invincible defense of the Futu divine tower and a super-spiritual array to hold on. This encirclement was commanded by an ancestor of their clan, and to quickly eliminate Xun'er, the 3 heavenly emperors had no choice but to request reinforcements from a more powerful heavenly emperor. The Sword Monarch had arrived as a result of their request. Breaking this array is not difficult. The main issue is that this array is connected to the very fabric of this world. Each time we break it, the world's forces automatically restore it, the Sword Monarch said to the 3 lower heavenly emperors. Unless we can sever the connection between this array and the world, but I've already tried that. Unfortunately, the world's energy is incompatible with our clan's power. This is not our territory, and I cannot sever the connection. But if this continues, this array won't last a day. By then, we won't even need to lift a finger. It will collapse on its own, the Sword Monarch continued. At that point, killing them will be as easy as flipping a hand. However, the ancestor hasn't given us much time. To create this opening, the ancestor bound himself with the 2 divine ancestors of this world in the Rule Labyrinth. One of the lower heavenly emperors said anxiously. Before they could finish speaking, another voice filled with arrogance echoed through the air. To sever this connection, we can just turn this world into our own territory. Meanwhile, below the chasm, the dark waters rippled. Inside the enormous black tower, a completely different scene unfolded. Inside the vast tower was another space, and while the ground was black, towering golden flames illuminated the area. The flames revealed a terrifying sight. The entire space was filled with countless spiritual arrays. These arrays could not be seen by those without sufficient strength, but the overwhelming energy fluctuations they emanated were undeniable. Under these countless spiritual arrays, this self-contained space had become a deadly lightning pool, and anyone below the heavenly supreme would be doomed if they entered. All of this was the work of a grandmaster of spirit arrays, a woman whose methods displayed a brutal and nearly invincible talent for spiritual arrays.